This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto on this digital Sportscentre presented by Montana's Barbecue and Bar. And since we last spoke, a lot has happened at the World Juniors. So let's have a little recap, shall we? Friday, Canada lost in one of the biggest upsets we've seen at this tournament. Latvia picking up a shootout win after their goaltender made 55 saves in regulation and overtime. And another 8 in the shootout. It's the first time Canada's ever lost to Latvia at this event. Coming in there a perfect 4-0, outscoring the Latvians 41-4. But just a blip on the radar, right? Nothing to worry about, right? Well, Canada did bounce back with a win against Germany Sunday, but goals were hard to come by, as the Canadians lit the lamp just 3 times, including an empty netter. Another shocker considering how dominant Canada has been against Germany at the World Juniors. Now let's look at the bright side. Curtis George has emerged as a clear number 1 in net after recording back-to-back shutouts against Finland and Germany. And through 3 games, Canada is still tied with the US atop the standings in Group A, even if the Americans have scored twice as many goals as the Canadians. So if Canada can pick up a win against the States New Year's Eve, they will win Group A and all will be right in the hockey world. For more on Team Canada, let's bring back our guy from Ottawa. It's Mark Masters. How concerning is Canada's power outage after scoring just 5 goals combined against Latvia and Germany?
Well, it has to be a bit concerning, Marissa. I mean, the Americans have scored twice as many goals through 3 games of this tournament, but Dave Cameron is confident eventually the puck is going to fall for his team. He's happy with the amount of chances they're generating. They're just a bit snake-bitten right now, the coach says. They still seem pretty confident out there. I mean, Gavin McKenna almost pulled off the between-the-legs move last night. The power play got going against Germany, but still ranked 8th in the tournament. Marissa, if that can get going a bit more, I think it will alleviate more pressure.
As Canada goes head-to-head with the US on New Year's Eve, is this the kind of big game that can shake the Canadians out of their funk?
Well, the games on New Year's Eve tend to be wild. Remember 2009 in Ottawa, 7-4 Canada over the U.S. with John Tavares coming through with a hat trick. Canadian center Berkeley Catton leads the team with 16 shots. He hasn't scored yet. He says these are the types of games where the real players show up.
Now, aside from this Canada-US game, what wild plans do you have for New Year's Eve?
Marissa, I'll be in my room coming up with my resolutions. Number 1, more digital SE hits.
Thanks for joining us once again, Mark. Enjoy the festivities. Of course, you can catch Canada's game against the US right here on TSN. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. To the NFL now, and a lot went down on Sunday. So let's recap the most important stories for the playoff picture. Josh Allen and the Bills balled out against their division rival Jets. Buffalo already had the AFC title locked up, but the win locks up the number 2 seed in the AFC. So they'll have home field advantage until they potentially play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Now the Eagles crushed the Cowboys even without Jalen Hurts, who's recovering from a concussion. As a result, the Birds clinched the NFC East title for the 2nd time in the last 3 years. And Saquon Barkley ran wild on the boys. He became the 9th player to rush for over 2,000 yards on the season, and he's 101 yards shy of breaking the single-season rushing record. The Commanders won a thriller in overtime against the Falcons. As a result, Washington clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2020, and they haven't won a playoff game since 2006. And to cap off the win, Jeremy Reeves proposed to his longtime girlfriend, so congrats to them. He could have made it a little more exciting, but it's fine. It's very cute. Meanwhile, the Vikings beat the Packers to temporarily take top spot in the NFC North. And why is that important? Well, the Lions are in action tonight against the 49ers. And if Detroit can keep pace with Minnesota, they'll square off in a Week 18 winner-take-all game to decide the division. And of course, you can catch Monday Night Football right here on TSN. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. I genuinely cannot believe we are getting to the end of the season here. And then you know what that means. Super Bowl, baby. Ooh, I'm so excited. It's a light night in the NHL with only 3 games on the slate, and one features the Jets taking on the Nashville Predators. This is a battle of 2 teams on opposite ends of the standings, as Winnipeg is first in the Central, while Nashville is second last, just 3 points ahead of Chicago. After a bit of a slump, the Jets have found their groove before New Year's, with 3 straight wins and 7 victories in their last 10 games. Their 2 best players up front have been dynamite over that stretch, with Kyle Connor riding a 6-game point streak, and Mark Scheifele scoring 8 goals in his last 8 games. Now, the Preds, on the other hand, have been an absolute disaster, and that somewhat starts with their top players. After scoring 48 goals last year, Philip Forsberg has just 9 in 36 games and is not averaging a point per game. Now, even though their 2 biggest offseason signings have shown signs of life, Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault have struggled to put up numbers they did in their previous stops. And then the goaltending just has to be looked at, because UC Saros surprisingly hasn't been the guy. Saros is 36th in goals saved above expected this season, but for what the Preds are paying him, they're expecting him to be much better than that. Saros has allowed 3 or more goals in a game this season 18 times in just 29 starts, which is so I said it before, it is surprising. Soros was my #1 goalie just last year. I loved just watching him do what he does, and now to see him not perform at that level is a little sad. I'm hoping he bounces back. He's got to bounce back. Let's make it tonight. 10 of my favorite segment and yours at We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
We love a father-son moment here at DSC, especially when it's a father teaching a son a valuable lesson. I thought that he was being sweet there for a second and kind of holding him, giving him a little hug after, like, sorry for tackling you, but then he kind of dropped him. So, it's tough love. Now, this father-son moment is actually a little more wholesome, courtesy of Ian Eagle's son, Noah.
I would get home and it would be, clean your room. And I would say, not today. And he would say, breakfast denied. And I'd say, I want some eggs. And then he would say, broken ankles and yolks. And I would say, I'm not hungry. And then I'd get grounded. That's usually how it would go.
Okay, so he was getting trained at a very early age. Love it. That's it for me today. We'll see you back tomorrow at 3 Eastern, no Pacific. Have a good one.